Welcome to this lesson to help you learn English with the news. We're going to read a news article together, and you're going to learn a lot of advanced grammar, natural vocabulary, correct sentence structure, and even correct pronunciation directly from reading this article with me. Of course, I'm Jennifer from jforceenglish.com, and this is your place to become a fluent, confident English speaker. Let's get started. Hello, welcome to our article. Today we're talking about Dubai. Have you been to Dubai? Do you want to go to Dubai? I have never been, but I would really like to go, which is why I saw this headline and I said, yeah, let's talk about this because I want to go to Dubai. So let's read the headline together. Dubai scraps 30% alcohol tax and license fee in apparent bid to boost tourism. All right, I really like this word here, scraps. So this is a verb. Let me highlight this for you, scrap. So as a verb, we always want to think about it in the infinitive, to scrap. Now this is when you no longer continue a plan. We use this in a very specific context, and I would say with a plan. A plan or a project or an approach. So I'll add that, but simply you can think of it as a plan. Plan, project, or approach. Scrap. Let me highlight this here. So this means that Dubai had a tax, a 30% tax on alcohol, but now they're scrapping it. So they're throwing it in the garbage. They're getting rid of it. They're no longer doing that. So how can you use this? Let's say you're planning something. It could be a conference, a meeting, a new product, or it could be something in your personal life, like a trip somewhere. Let's say you're planning a trip to Dubai and you're thinking about certain plans within this. Oh, maybe we should go here. Maybe we should visit this. Maybe we should stay at this hotel. But then you might say, let's scrap taking the boat tour and visit the museum instead. Okay? So you had a plan to go on a boat tour, but now you're not going to continue on that plan. Let's scrap taking. Now notice here I have my gerund verb because you can do two things with this verb, to scrap. You can have just a something. So let's scrap the boat tour and visit the museum instead. So this is my noun, the boat tour. Let's scrap the boat tour. This is something. But you can also scrap doing something. In that sense, you need the gerund verb. Let's scrap, sorry, I have to copy this again. Let's scrap, what did I say? Let's scrap taking the boat tour. So that's our sentence structure here. You have either to scrap and you scrap something. So this is a noun. Or you scrap doing something, which is your gerund verb. Your verb in verb plus ing, your base verb plus ing. So notice that sentence structure with this verb to scrap. So Dubai has this tax. They're getting rid of it. They're throwing it in the garbage. The tax and this license fee in apparent bid to boost tourism. I see a lot of students using boost already, which I really like because it's a very natural expression. And if you're not using it, let me quickly explain what it means. To boost something is simply to increase it or improve it. So in a work context, you'll hear this a lot with sales. Sales is something you want to increase. Customer satisfaction, you want to boost it. You want to increase your customer satisfaction. So we need to boost our customer satisfaction. Now, let's say you develop this plan to boost your customer satisfaction, but then someone thought of a different idea. So you might say, let's scrap that idea to boost customer satisfaction and instead use this idea. So you could use them together. Now, I said I hear a lot of students using this because I hear students say, I need to boost my, I don't know why I keep writing an E, boost my vocabulary. This is a verb, of course, so you need to conjugate your verb. I might say, watching these lessons will help you boost your vocabulary. All right, so improve your vocabulary. So that's a great verb as well. So scrap and boost. Already have two, and we're just in the headline, so let's continue on. This looks like a hotel in Dubai, I guess. It being Dubai, remember, if a noun, a subject, is not identified and instead it uses he, she, or it, you always have to just look at the last noun referenced. And then the last noun was Dubai. It will also stop charging for personal alcohol licenses, something residents who want to drink at home must have. All right, so Dubai will, we could say stop, or what's the verb you just learned? Scrap. It will also scrap charging for personal alcohol licenses. I think it mentioned that up here, though, the license fee as well. So we already know that. So stop charging or scrap. Now notice stop, and we have our verb in ing well. That is because stop is a gerund verb. So you use stop plus gerund. And again, gerund is your verb in ing. So what could I say? I stopped drinking alcohol. Since this article is about alcohol, I stopped drinking alcohol. So we need our gerund verb. And here, scrap, and we already know you need the gerund. It will also scrap charging for personal alcohol licenses. All right, so I guess an easy way you can think of it is stop. It's really the same, because when you stop something, you no longer do it, right? But remember that scrap is specifically used with, where is it? With, did I not write it out? Oh, sorry, here. A plan, a project, or an approach. Remember, scrap is specifically used, plan, project, or approach. And a lot of times, vocabulary is used only in a very specific context, especially with phrasal verbs, idioms, and expressions, but also just with regular verbs. Now, notice here, I said I stopped drinking alcohol. I wouldn't say I scrapped drinking alcohol because drinking alcohol is not a plan or a project. So I would use stop. But if you are talking specifically about a plan, a project, or approach, then scrap and stop have the same meaning. If you're ever not sure which one to use, you can use stop with this one as well. Dubai stops 30% alcohol tax. So you could do that as well. Okay, let's continue on. Dubai has been relaxing laws for some time, allowing the sale of alcohol in daylight during Ramadan and approving home delivery during the pandemic. Okay. Let's look at this. To relax a law. To relax. Well, you know what to relax is, right? You're all stressed out and then, you relax. I guess you can kind of think of it in a way, because when you relax a law or relax a policy, it becomes less severe. So you can think of it like when you're stressed out, you're kind of like very severe, rigid, but then you relax and you become less tense. I don't know if that analogy helps, but maybe that will help you remember this, because when you relax a law, relax a policy, it still exists, but it's not as severe. So to make a policy, a rule, a law less severe or less stringent, which basically means severe, just another way of saying it. So let's say at work, you had to wear a formal suit and tie every single day. But then the pandemic happened and people started relaxing their dress codes. So now you don't have to wear a tie anymore. They still want you to wear a button-down shirt. So the law still exists. It's not a law, a dress code. It's more of a policy or a rule. It still exists, but it's less severe. Relax. So remember, this one is, again, vocabulary very specific to a rule, a policy, or a law. So you could say, I'll put this here, and this is to relax a rule, policy, law. Just so you remember to use it in these very specific circumstances. What was I going to say? Yes. After the pandemic, our company relaxed the dress code. So remember, the dress code still exists, but it's less severe. So now we don't have to wear ties, but we still have to wear button-down shirts. A button-down shirt is a men's shirt that has buttons and usually long sleeves as well, a button-down shirt. Okay. And of course, governments could relax a rule or policy. Well, we all saw that with the COVID restrictions. It's not that one day they were here and then they were zero, right? They were gradually relaxed. So they became less stringent, and then down to zero. And this is our example of how Dubai is relaxing one of its policies or laws. Okay, that's a good one. Let's continue on. This latest move is thought to be an attempt to make the city more attractive to foreigners in the face of competition from neighbors. I like this, is thought to be. Of course, I think you understand the meaning. It's just the use of the sentence structure. So we have, right here, we have something, this latest move, that's the something. Then we have our verb to be, is thought to be, and then we have a noun. So I might say, Dubai is thought to be a great tourist destination. It's another way of saying many people think Dubai is a great tourist destination. So instead of saying many people think, I'm starting with Dubai as my subject. Dubai is thought to be a great tourist destination. So I guess that's the difference here, is you put your object in many people think Dubai. That's the object. You're turning it into the subject of the sentence. So we can use this when we're making general statements. So the sentence structure is something to be, that's your verb to be, thought to be, and then your noun or your clause, like whatever comes next, thought to be. Remember, this verb to be is conjugated, but this stays as to be. So I'm saying that this is conjugated because I might say Dubai was thought to be a great tourist destination until it scrapped its alcohol tax. Who knows? Maybe that will happen. Now nobody wants to go to Dubai because it doesn't have this alcohol tax. That's unlikely because they're doing it to attract tourists. But notice, Dubai was thought to be. So it's the same thing as saying many people thought Dubai was a great tourist destination. So people no longer have this opinion, but it was an opinion held by many in the past. So notice this is conjugated, but this verb to be does not change. It stays in the infinitive form. Dubai was thought to be a great tourist destination, but then something happened. So I could just leave it here, period. I'm just explaining the reason why it is no longer thought to be a great tourist destination. Remember, this is a fake example. I'm not saying this is true. I'm just sharing an example. So don't get mad if you're from Dubai. Okay, let's move on. Let's take a look at in the face of. In the face of. This is an idiom. This is an idiom. And you can think of it as despite, which also means in spite of. Despite and in spite of have the exact same meaning. In the face of competition from neighbors. So they're doing this. Dubai is getting rid of their tax. They're scrapping their alcohol tax despite competition from neighbors. Okay. So we could say, for example, our sales, let me change this. Our sales increased in the face of the pandemic. Now, right here, I could say our sales increased. That's correct on its own. If I want to give more information about this, I can let you know that there was a difficult situation going on at the time, the pandemic, but that did not impact our sales. So we were able to do this action despite the difficult situation in the face of the pandemic. Our sales increased in the face of the pandemic. So I might say something like Dubai attracts a lot of tourists in the face of the extreme heat. So Dubai is really hot, right? It gets to plus 45 in the summertime, but people still visit. It's still a popular destination. Dubai attracts a lot of tourists in the face of extreme heat. So this is the same as despite this extreme heat, in spite of the extreme heat. Remember that in the face of is simply an idiom. To be honest, I would say that despite is more commonly used. In spite of is more commonly used, but the idiom is used. So now you have an idiom that means the same thing, and you can practice adding it to your speech. Let's continue on. The two companies which distribute alcohol in Dubai, Maritime and Mercantile International, MMI, and African and Eastern, said they would reflect the cut in tax for consumers. Okay, I don't think there's anything I need to explain there. This is what we call an acronym. I'll just say that. This is an acronym, and each letter represents something. So the M represents maritime, this M represents mercantile, and this I represents international. We see this a lot. I know sometimes in English it's difficult to know what acronyms mean, like CEO, I'm sure you know this, but Chief Executive Officer. Now it's funny because sometimes even native speakers, they'll know the acronym, but they don't actually know what it stands for. For example, I had no idea that the company IBM was actually an acronym and each letter stood for something. I think it's international. I don't know if the I is international. Business Machine. Do you know what the acronym for IBM, the company IBM is? If you do, share it in the comments. So sometimes that happens, but it is useful to get familiar with certain acronyms. This is not an acronym you need to know because it's just a very specific company in Dubai. But you should know the acronyms within your industry. If you live in Dubai and you're in the restaurant industry or the hotel industry, you should absolutely know the common acronyms, and maybe this is one. Okay, let's continue on. Since we began our operations in Dubai over 100 years ago, the Emirates' approach has remained dynamic, sensitive, and inclusive for all, MMI spokesman Tyrone Reed told AP. I don't think there's anything there I need to explain. If there is something that I missed that you're curious about, let me know in the comments and I'll explain it. Let's continue on. These recently updated regulations are instrumental to continue ensuring the safe and responsible purchase and consumption of alcoholic beverages in Dubai and the UAE. Okay, instrumental. I'm sure you know what an instrument is, like a musical instrument. So you see that word here, but instrumental, this is an adjective. So you can think of it as meaning essential or absolutely important, like 100% important, which also means essential. I'm just giving you an alternative to the word essential, just to help you there. So you could say scrapping the alcohol tax was instrumental to our growth. Okay. Instrumental to our growth. Instrumental to our growth. All right. So it was essential, absolutely important. You needed to do it. So notice it's to be instrumental. Here's our verb to be. It's conjugated as are because we're talking about the regulations. They, that's our subject. They are. So here, my was is the verb to be in the past simple. I still spelt it wrong. Sorry about that. My verb to be in the past simple. Scrapping the alcohol tax is instrumental to our growth. Talking about it as a statement of fact, that something that's going to happen. But if it's already happened, then I can put it in the past simple. So I'll just write out to be instrumental. Let's see if I spelled it correctly. Yes. All right, let's continue on. It is not clear if the move, which took effect on Sunday, will be permanent. The Financial Times described the move as a one-year trial, citing industry executives informed of the decision. All right, to take effect, this is when something officially happens, right? In the context of a rule, a policy, a regulation. So when a rule, remember again, you use certain vocabulary in very specific circumstances. We're talking about when a rule, a regulation, a policy, a law starts, when it begins for the first time. So this is in the past simple, which took effect on Sunday. So the move, this represents scrapping the alcohol tax. And it was also the license, right? Alcohol tax. Scrapping the alcohol tax. That's the move. The move. They're calling it a move because it's a strategy, a strategic move. Like when you're playing chess and you move a chess piece strategically, right? Where am I going to move my king, my knight? That's what they're saying. So Dubai is doing this strategically. That's the move. And the move is scrapping the alcohol tax. And that took effect on Sunday. So remember, you can use take effect, but specifically with a rule, regulation, policy, law, something very official. All right, let's continue on. Expatriates outnumber nationals by 9-1 in Dubai. That's really interesting. Known as the Gulf's party capital, and residents commonly drive to Al Quwain. Sorry, I'm not sure how to say that. Al Quwain and other emirates to buy alcohol in bulk. Okay, remember I talked about an acronym? Well, we have a short form for expatriates. We simply call them expats. Verbally and in writing. To be honest, I never say expatriates. I always say expats. I'm an expat. An expat is somebody who is not living in the country they were born in. I'm an expat. I live in Dubai. I was born in Canada. I live in Dubai. I'm an expat. She's an expat. An expat. Plural because it refers to more than one person. All right. So for every 10 people in Dubai, if you have a group of 10 of them, only one was actually born in Dubai or the United Arab Emirates as the country, and 9 of them were born in other parts of the world. That's a huge difference. That's really interesting. Okay, to buy alcohol in bulk. Let me just review this here. When you buy something, notice to buy. When you buy something in bulk, it means you buy a large quantity of it. And the reason why you do that is because you get a discount. You get a discount if you buy a large quantity. So, for example, you might say, I always buy diapers in bulk. So if you just buy a pack of 10 diapers, it might cost you $10. But you know you're going to use diapers every single day if you have small children, right? Babies. So why not buy a 200 pack of diapers and you will save a lot of money. So to buy something in bulk, to buy a large quantity, that means amount of something, to save money because you get a discount. It's cheaper. So what about you? Is there something that you always buy in bulk? Remember, I buy, and then you state the item. So you might say, for me, I always buy coconut oil in bulk. This might seem like an odd item to buy in bulk, but coconut oil is very expensive in North America. And a tiny jar of coconut oil is like $10, but a giant tub of coconut oil is like $20 at Costco. And it's a really good deal when you buy it in bulk. So I always buy coconut oil in bulk. What about you? What do you buy in bulk? Let me know in the comments. Dubai has historically managed to attract more tourists and wealthy foreign workers than its neighbors, in part because of its tolerance of a more liberal lifestyle. So tolerance of, this is the noun form of the verb tolerate. To tolerate something or even someone. So when you tolerate something or someone's behavior, it's not usually the someone, it's someone's behavior, which is actually a something. Someone's behavior is a noun, it's a something. It means you, how would I say this? I guess I would say you accept that something even though you don't like it or approve of it. Let me give you an example. My boss tolerates our casual clothes. Remember before I was talking about scrapping the formal dress code? So my boss, he doesn't really actually like the fact we wear casual clothes, but he still allows it. He tolerates it. So notice here, they're simply using it as a noun form because of it's being Dubai, because of Dubai's tolerance of a more liberal lifestyle. So it's implying that Dubai doesn't actually like or approve of people drinking alcohol, but they're going to allow it, mainly because of tourism reasons, I would imagine. And notice here we have the preposition of. I commonly hear this with towards, tolerance towards. Both of them are correct. Sometimes this happens in English where there are just two different prepositions that are acceptable, and both of them can be commonly used. And I hear both of these. Is tolerance of, is tolerance towards. So you might say IBM can attract workers easier because of its tolerance towards remote work. Okay. I don't know if this is true. It's just an example. So IBM is able to gain more workers. And the reason why is because it tolerates remote work. That's the verb form. And the noun is because of its tolerance towards or tolerance of remote work. So IBM doesn't actually like that people work from home. They actually want people in the office, but it's going to accept it, even though it doesn't necessarily like it. So that's a good one. Remember, the verb form would be because IBM, tolerates remote work. This is the verb form of it. And you have to conjugate your verb according to the subject. But now it faces increasing competition from rivals developing their hospitality and finance sectors. All right, I don't think there's anything we need to address there. If you have any questions about it, let me know in the comments. And that is the end of our article. I hope you enjoyed it, found it interesting. The most interesting part for me was probably that there are 9 expats for every one person in Dubai. That is pretty crazy. What did you find the most interesting about this article? Feel free to share in the comments. And now what I'll do is I will read the article from start to finish so you can focus on my pronunciation and you can practice your pronunciation along with mine. So let's do that now. Dubai scraps 30% alcohol tax and license fee in apparent bid to boost tourism. It will also stop charging for personal alcohol licenses, something residents who want to drink at home must have. Dubai has been relaxing laws for some time, allowing the sale of alcohol in daylight during Ramadan and approving home delivery during the pandemic. This latest move is thought to be an attempt to make the city more attractive to foreigners in the face of competition from neighbors. The two companies which distribute alcohol in Dubai, Maritime and Mercantile International, MMI, and African and Eastern, said they would reflect the cut in tax for consumers. Since we began our operations in Dubai over 100 years ago, the Emirates' approach has remained dynamic, sensitive, and inclusive for all, MMI spokesman Tyrone Reed told AP. These recently updated regulations are instrumental to continue ensuring the safe and responsible purchase and consumption of alcoholic beverages in Dubai and the UAE. It is not clear if the move, which took effect on Sunday, will be permanent. The Financial Times described the move as a one-year trial, citing industry executives informed of the decision. Expatriates outnumber nationals by 9-1 in Dubai, known as the Gulf's party capital, and residents commonly drive to Al Quwain and other Emirates to buy alcohol in bulk. Dubai has historically managed to attract more tourists and wealthy foreign workers than its neighbors, in part because of its tolerance of a more liberal lifestyle. But now it faces increasing competition from rivals developing their hospitality and finance sectors. Amazing job with this lesson. Now you can look in the description below and you'll see a link where you can download the free lesson PDF that summarizes everything you learned in this lesson. And if you found this lesson helpful, please hit the like button, share it with your friends, and of course subscribe. And before you go, make sure you head on over to my website, jforrestenglish.com, and download your free speaking guide. In this guide, I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. And until next time, happy studying.